And we've reached the chapter about political protest. We all want to change the world, songs of politics and conscience. And I found the tenor of this selection kind of surprising. And of course it reflects the ideas of the editors. And I'll start with Tom Russell's introduction. He says, "I believe in Sting's conclusion that you have to save yourself first before you can save the world. I've always tried to approach issue songs by writing from one viewpoint, that of one character. The power resides in the simple view of what that character has been through. Address the human heart rather than the issue." Many people never learn that one. Buddhist Chogyam Trungpa says that if we try to solve society's problems without overcoming the confusion and aggression in our own minds, then our efforts will only contribute to those problems rather than solving them. And that's a theme that recurs in my selection from their selection. Firstly, Sting, who he mentions. At its best, pop music is subversive, capable of subtle interpretations of relationships and problems. Instead of beating people over the head with an idea, I think it's better to get people comfortable. Then you start beating them with the message. If we're going to save the world, we have to do it from the inside. Bob Dylan. Nice to be able to follow on from a Dylan song. And Dylan's going to have the last word in my selection as well. Dylan, "I don't write finger-pointing songs because I think I can put the world right. I don't think I can, and I don't really care if I can or not. I just write what I feel. If other people think it has a message, that's up to them, but I'm not deliberately trying to put one across." Very similarly from Bruce Cockburn, "I don't think any given song is going to change the world. You make a song because it's there to be made, not really to convince people of things." Billy Bragg, this surprises me from Billy Bragg. "I'm not a political songwriter. I write some political songs, but I live in a country at the moment that's very political, and part of my job is to reflect the society that I come from. I can't divorce politics from life, I'm afraid." Very similarly, and from the same year, 1986, Joe Jackson. "I write songs about whatever I have strong feelings about. If you work that way, it's inevitable that at some point it's going to be political. Politics is just about people in society and the way societies relate to each other. It's not a conscious decision to make political statements." Here is a quote from two young black rap musicians. "Whether it's political or not depends on your point of view. As a young black man, I can write a song about not being able to hail a cab in New York. That's not political, that's just reality. Or I write about drug dealers taking over the block." And his partner, "We don't set out to write socially conscious songs. We just write about what's around us, what we see." Billy Joel. "I know what being a commercial fisherman is. I did it. Most of my life was poor. Most of my life I had weird jobs. But there's also a thing called imagination, which is what writers have. We should be able to use pronouns any which way we want to get a narrative across. I don't like getting up on a soapbox, being one of those social political message guys. I think the best way to do it is to tell a story about a human being, not about an issue." Interestingly, Jerry Lieber and Stoller, such a famous, wonderful songwriting duo. I think there's a mistake in the view of some of that material now. Riot in Cell Block Number 9 wasn't a ghetto song. It was inspired by the Gangbusters radio drama. Those voices just happened to be black, but they could have been white actors on the radio saying, "Pass the dynamite because the fuse is lit." People have said, "These are protest songs, early prophecies of the burning of Watts." Bullshit. These are cartoons. We used to write cartoons. Jackson Browne. The first music that I heard that I really went crazy for was Bob Dylan's. Songs like Talking World War III Blues, Blowing in the Wind. Those songs are political, and it was a time when the civil rights movement was in full sail. 1963 to 64, the early 60s, when I started playing guitar. Of course, I heard Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger too, and the Staples singers, Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, a lot of blues artists, but Bob Dylan, Bob Dylan, Bob Dylan. And so the last word goes to Bob Dylan. I remember when protest songwriting was really big. Phil Ochs came to town, Tim Hardin was around, Patrick Skye, Buffy St. Marie. But there never was any such thing as a protest movement. It was like the term beatnik or hippie. These were terms made up by magazine people who were invisible, who liked to put a label on something in order to cheapen it, and then it could be controlled better by other people who were also invisible. But no musician ever said, well, here's another protest song I'm going to sing.